able to put out publications like that, if their people are able to carry news about one senator, you can imagine if it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, even up to the Senate president or even the presidency, that is going to make that impact like you talked about. So again, it's for every Nigerian in diaspora to say, what can I do? And you don't have to be a chapter president. You don't have to be an elected officer to take one of those things and say, hey, my senator, this is what is happening back home in my country. Can you put a voice to it? And that's it. And that's how we can actually make little impacts from our little voices into the big ripple of ocean. But aside that, of course, we do have a couple of things you also mentioned as the giving back back home and things like that. Of course, now from a board of trustees perspective, we actually also do a lot of oversight. But the power belongs to every member of every chapter in the organization. The member is actually the powerful person. That member, that president, that local chapter president is the one that actually has the executive powers to move the boots on ground and to make that effect. Youth empowerment, we have it. Now we do have a couple of countries that are actually part of the Americas that function right now. And a part of us, of course, Canada, we have Brazil, and of course we have the USA that is actually there. Now, hopefully, the goal is actually to explore more Americas as we go through. But what are we doing for youth? I talked about how I joined NIDO and how we had more elderly people in NIDO. What has happened to the youth? Because those elderly people, when I found out, they've been there since the start of NIDO. So that means they were younger when they joined. So what is the transition to make sure we can actually attract the youth so that they actually can take it off from where we start? That's very important and key in what we're doing, and hopefully we'll do better. It's not just from a BOT perspective, to countries, to chapters, and even to people. Mentorship, of course, that helps. I've been in America for 15 years. I've done this, I've done that as a Nigerian. I've overcome this, I've survived this. What if the new guy coming in? How are we able to pass that over so that person doesn't have to spend 15 years to get to where you are? Hopefully 3, 5. That's going to actually accelerate our power here. We talked about give back, and giving back is huge. Not just giving back in money, not just giving back in food, even giving back in ideas, giving back in what we've learned, taking it back to Nigeria. That's a big, big, big one. Of what use is in Nigeria when we are succeeding here in diaspora and can be proud of what's happening back home? Or we can't even go back home because we're scared of going back home. You know, again, a lot of these things, and even in our local communities, without even doing that in Nigeria, in our local communities, how are we advocating for things around our local communities as Nigerians? Now you talk about the Jewish community, they just didn't come in, take things back to their land and not do anything in their local community. When we start doing things in our local community, then we can speak to our House of Rep members.
Yes.
Then we can speak to our...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All those things. And I know I'm speaking the voice of Honorable Collins there, but that's the truth.
Yes.
Then we can actually take those things and we can actually make a phone call to them. We don't even have to send an email anymore. We can make a phone call to them and say, show up at our next NIDO meeting. Come take a picture, lend your voice, and we can push that there. So as long as we start doing these things, and these are not big things to do, honestly. These are little things. I'll use an example in Ohio as simple as Adopt a Highway. And I think Adopt a Highway is actually a national thing. Adopt a Highway is an example. Take the highway, put your name on it, and clean the litter around it. That is impacting your immediate society. Do you think how many people will see that name and one day you want to say something? Oh, those are the guys that clean that area. It's as simple and easy as that. But what are we adding to ourselves? What are we adding to our communities? What are we adding before we had our voice? And all these things we add together will come to the AG and we'll talk as a country, as a continent. Then we can actually say, if we've done enough here, let's take it back home to Nigeria.
Whew, thank you. That is a lot. You answered.
Wow, Mr. Chairman. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you short.
No, go ahead, my co-host.
Because I have to be honest with you, our BOT chairman really nailed it.
Yes.
Nailed it in the sense that, remember, the AGM that we went to, was it in 2022 or 23 in New York, whereby we had Senator Savion. I'm sorry, I may have not pronounced her name right. She said one thing. She said, I know Nigerians. I fought for Nigerians. I work with Nigerians. He said there was a time, there was a crackdown on Nigerians that were doing 2 jobs, 3 jobs. The city was trying to make sure that these individuals are not just cooking the books. He said, but I know because of where they came from, they are hardworking people. They were doing the job and they were getting the job done. He said the only problem with Nigerians is that we do not participate in our local community.
Yes.
Not knowing that your local community is what defines your life. It's what defines your progress. So, Mr. Chairman, you are absolutely 100%. We need to engage in our local communities. We need to show our presence in our local communities. We need to make our local communities know that we appreciate them, we cherish them for the opportunity given to us. Then we can build an army of individuals that we can take back home and say, we are here to make things happen. And believe me, like you say, if we show and portray ourselves the way it's supposed to be in our local communities, the senators, the ministers, the governors, they will be more than willing to fight our cause back home. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. That was extremely powerful, and that gets to my next point, because you talked about making the difference in your local community, which translates into policy change and building that relationship with not only your local government chairman, your mayors, your governors, also your senators, your House of Reps. It will be very united for us. Hopefully we can plan. I was telling my president that at the government level, it would be nice for us to go to Washington, plan a meeting where, if you're from Ohio, there's some from Texas, there's some from Georgia, we go and meet our representatives. They're all in DC. Matter of fact, we don't need an appointment. Many people think that, you need an appointment. You actually don't. Now, because of COVID and a lot of people working remotely from home in the government, and we're traveling in advance because we're traveling out of state, we can make an appointment. But you can actually walk into your local government office, your senator office, because here in America, which is probably the greatest democracy in the world, they work for us. They serve us. I work for the federal government. We serve the people. The people don't serve us. Unlike back at home, where you cannot see where to contact. They have so much entourage. They don't even have an official email. I've met some Nigerian government officials, and they'll give you their Yahoo and their Gmail. That actually gets me to my last question, because you answered my other ones, which is our relationship with NIDCOM. So NIDCOM supposed to be our diaspora liaison organization, I would say, back at home.